If I had to describe my home in 3 words, I would say cultured, intentional, and welcoming. The first thing that I go for in making a space feel lived in and alive is plants. Like, every space needs a plant. I'm Carmeon Hamilton, and this is my HGTV home tour in Memphis. My home was built in 1977. It is a contemporary ranch, I guess is what you'd call it. It's all 1 story, 3 beds, 2 bath, about 1,900 square feet. We moved in 2016 and haven't changed any bones about it. Our home buying process, I had a very rigorous list of must-haves. First thing was natural light. As you can tell, I'm quite a plant lover, and I wanted to make sure our house was adequate for all of the plants that I knew I wanted to bring in. And I also wanted an older home. So mid-century was what I was hoping for, somewhere in the 50s and 60s. This house was built in the 70s, but still fit the bill because it was all 1 story. When we walked in, it was just like love at first sight. One of the main reasons I picked this house because it didn't need anything structurally. Everything that we've done to it up until this point has just been cosmetic, literally just paint. And I'm a whiz with a paintbrush. I can knock it out, get it done myself. We knew we could take our time with any major renovations like the bathrooms because the main spaces only needed paint. So when you first walk into our home, you enter into the entryway, and this was the first project that I took on. The house was baby blue everywhere, and this was the first place I broke out the paint. So I painted the wall white. This is not the original front door. This is a new front door, but I painted the front door black. And I wanted so badly Kelly Wearstler's Graffito wallpaper, but could not afford it at the time. And decided I can do that. I just love that from wall to wall, corner to corner, ceiling everywhere, it's just this envelope of design interest. And so it's the first thing you see, which I love, and it's hand painted. So it's very much a welcome to my house. This piece of art, it's one of the only mass-produced pieces of art in my house. The furniture retailer that I worked for, it went on sale there. I was the buyer, so I picked it out and loved it. And when it went on sale, I was like, I have to take it home with me. I always tell people your art doesn't have to match your house. Your art just has to match you. All right, let's go to the office. Our living area / my office is my favorite place in the house. I pat myself on the back in this room. This room is the most intentionally designed room in the house. This room was designed for me to be able to work, whether I'm working on design projects or content. It's also equipped to work with a team, my full team, and it's also where I can entertain. So I wanted this room to offer multiple purposes, and it does just that. As a designer, no matter how functional, I have to design a space. It has to be pretty. I just love having all these various textures and patterns that just inspire me on a day-to-day basis. These windows are what sold me on the house. It's superpowers for when I'm here working. It's just a source of energy because natural light is truly important for where you're working, and I love that I get all of it. So on this side of the office, it's still all about function, but a little bit more pretty. I found this vintage credenza on Craigslist. It's another vintage piece by Lane. It is one of the Brutalist line pieces, and it's my favorite era of furniture. This was my first grown-up piece of art that I purchased. The artist is Lauren Pierce. This portrait is a culmination of everything I love about art. It's a portrait, it's a face that looks like mine. It's a little bit abstract. It has a story in the eyes, and you just keep staring into it because you want to know who this is and what they're about. The other piece is actually a photograph of me on my wedding day. The most important thing about this piece is it's actually covering a pass-through between this room and the kitchen. So your eye as you come into the room, you start here at the Monstera, but you end up here at this very interesting plant. But on your journey, there's some DIY artwork, some of my favorite books, and then things that just add interest and height. So as much as I loved the open concept of our living office space, I had always loved the idea of a very intentional divider. And I got to a point where my plant babies had kind of exploded and I needed additional shelving to display them. So I designed this shelving unit that I had custom made by a welder here in Memphis, a friend of mine. It is floor to beam. The beams in this room are architectural, but they're actually, fun fact, the ducts for my HVAC system. A friend of mine, her daughter makes these random characters and she had a little pop-up shop and I just bought something to support her. So this little dog that's watching TV is what sits here. I have friends that have sent me special gifts like lizards that have a very special meaning to me. And continuing with the plant theme, I have here my little plant nursery or plant emergency room. I do have a few plants that sometimes need a little bit more care. I have my Soul Tech pendant light here, which is a light that is scientifically engineered to give the proper sun rays or UV lighting that plants need to generate photosynthesis. So we are now in the living room area. This side of the room is intended to feel a lot more cozy than the office side of the room. So I decided to stop the black color at the top of the paneling, and that gave me an opportunity to extend our fireplace to the ceiling. Once I landed on the placement of the black, it gave me a foundation for a gallery wall. And yes, gallery walls are in, they're never going anywhere. It's not even a trend anymore, it's a classic. These three pieces at the top are actually one of the last handwritten notes my mother wrote to me. I just love that I have a piece of her here in the living room. This piece was the very first piece of an African textile that I ever purchased. It is Kuba cloth, so I had it custom mounted and included it in the gallery. The star of this entire wall is the very first vintage furniture that I've ever purchased. My first time walking into a vintage shop, and I found this Broyhill Brasilia 9-drawer dresser for $200. So my coffee table is another place where I love to personalize things. What's featured here are my collection of calligraphy brushes, but also you'll notice there's no remotes, nothing, anything like that. I always encourage everyone, get a vessel, something with the lid. I would show you what's in there, but it looks like it's crazy. So our wet bar was such an eyesore when we moved in. So I painted the base cabinets black to match the cabinets in the kitchen, and this entire little alcove went black to mimic what was happening on the living room side of the room. I had the grand opportunity to create a series with HGTV, Crafts and Cocktails, and one of our crafts was this faux antique mirroring. So this isn't real mirror, it's just plexiglass that we spray painted and got this effect. And I love the idea of being able to use that as a backsplash to the wet bar. I love incorporating plants onto shelves because that's what they do in any environment. They will take a space that feels very still, inanimate, and give it life and color. The Monstera plant is my favorite plant, but this is the very first Monstera that I bought. And this plant has birthed every other Monstera plant in my house. It keeps this special positioning in the house because it's the mother, just like me. Our kitchen. Our kitchen is a tiny little workhorse. As someone who cooks out of necessity and not necessarily for fun, I love that we are not wasting a ton of square footage of our entire home on kitchen space. Transforming this kitchen, when we moved in, everything was wood. Wood floor, wood cabinets, laminate, wood-looking countertops. The first thing I did in this space was paint the cabinets. These are walnut butcher block countertops, and they just feel so rich in this space, especially in the black and white color scheme. Our backsplash tile, I turned them to look like the letter H because of my last name, Hamilton. So our kitchen feels very personalized because that's one of the first things people notice when they come into this space. After living in our kitchen for several years, we got the opportunity to literally raise the roof. These are fresh air skylights, so I can open them when I'm cooking, or I can open them on a breezy day and to let fresh air in or let smoke out, and it's just perfect for a kitchen. The mural in the dining room, it's such a simple design, but 3 is my favorite number. It always represented me and my husband and my son. So many people were just blown away at how easy it was, and it's actually been mass repeated. So many people have repeated it in their own homes. That is probably my proudest, but like the easiest mural I've taken on to date. So this is the primary bedroom. This is my sanctuary when I'm not in the living room, of course. I got to design this room during the One Room Challenge. This room was the first room to get actual hammer and nails and demo and things like that. When we first moved into our home, there was just a tiny window behind where the mirror is, and it was just so dark. I knew that that one window just wasn't enough for me as a lover of natural light. I said this would be the perfect place to utilize an option of French doors. Before the deck or anything in our backyard was done, even started, we put these French doors in. Now, this textured wall, these slatted walls, have been popular for a very long time. I wanted to be able to feature this texture, but as a piece of art. I love a good, luscious bed. I love linen, and I love a bed with lots of layers, no matter what season it is. So I go with linen because it's great for summer or winter. I wanted something that would add height the way a plant would, and I got the idea of a mobile. There were 3 wall hangings. They were just flat wall hangings, and I decided to take them apart and use those pieces as a mobile. The shapes were reminiscent of the same shapes in the artwork, and I'm like, I can work with this. So our guest bedroom, I absolutely love it now, but it's lived a couple lives since we've been here. This is the Kelly Worcester Graffito design. I love this bed so much, I'll probably never get rid of it. But I took the opportunity to wash the walls, the trim, the doors, everything in this room in this chipotle color. The 2 pendant lights on either side of the bed look like clouds. This added layer, the lighting is just warm. I mean, this room is just super cozy for any guest that will stay here. Our hallway bathroom was the final frontier of renovations for our entire home, and I feel like I saved the best for last. This bathroom probably embodies my design aesthetic the most. The combination of the wallpaper and the walnut vanity and the black, very modern but textured mirror. All of these elements combined really speak to who I am as a designer. The piece de resistance in here is the huge 4x4 skylight. Natural light in bathrooms is like the holy grail. Just having light where you can see your face if you're putting on makeup or whatever it is, it's a go-to. I love that it's flooded with natural light, so you really get to experience all the textures in the space. Every home needs something functional, something that feels personal or collected, and a plant. That combination is a go-to for every space, every styled object, everything. Our environments dictate so much about how we feel and how we behave and how we interact with people. I wholeheartedly believe that a successful design has to reflect the people that use the space. That space isn't done until the people that use it are connected with it in some way. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to HGTV Home for more home tours. Thanks for stopping by. Y'all have a good one. Gotta say y'all.
Y'all come back now.
Y'all come back now.
Camera's cut.